the worst has come to pass. Behold, it is hell on earth. An army of demons has invaded, and humanity has been driven to the edge of extinction. As they plead for mercy, there is yet still one man who stands against the demonic horde. But he cares not for salvation. He seeks instead retribution. Doom Eternal is a first-person shooter. It is a sequel to the Doom reboot that was released back in 2016. In it, you play as a nameless space marine, typically referred to as either Doom Guy or Slayer, who is leading a one-man crusade to kill as many demons as he can. Like most first-person shooters, the game is divided into a series of levels, each one representing a different environment. As you make your way through each level, you'll encounter wave after wave of monsters that you'll have to defeat. If you played the previous Doom game, then you should be familiar with the system, where you can use firearms to eliminate demons at a distance, or use your melee attacks or chainsaw to take them out when they're close. You can also use powerful finishing moves to eliminate your enemies with extreme prejudice, and also recover a portion of your health. Like most first-person shooters, as you make your way through the levels and make progress, you'll unlock new weapons and upgrades. All of your weapons can unlock up to 2 secondary fire modes, which change how they handle in combat. In addition to weapon upgrades, Doom Eternal has also added armor upgrades as well. By collecting tokens and crystals, you can increase your health, armor, and ammunition capacity. You'll also be able to unlock passive bonuses that will help you in both exploration and combat. As you navigate the levels, you'll be able to find health and ammo pickups, as well as collectibles and special unlock points. Completing levels also allows you to accumulate experience points, which you can use to add new skins and customization options to your character. But probably the most interesting update in Doom Eternal is how the combat system has been further modified from the already insane demon blender that it was before. For starters, your movement options have been expanded. In addition to the running and double jumping that were already available in the previous game, now you can also swing on monkey bars, grapple onto specifically designated walls, and use a recharging dash ability to immediately change directions even in midair. But more relevant, the combat has been changed as well, and these new alterations are subtle but important. If you played the previous game, most of the weapons that you have available should be fairly familiar. You've got your shotgun, machine gun, rocket launcher, and even your good old friendly neighborhood BFG. Now, while most of your arsenal is made up of old favorites, you also get some new weapons this time around, including grenades, a flamethrower, and your chainsaw, which, and this is the key part, no longer require ammunition and are all on cooldown timers instead, although the chainsaw can collect fuel to recharge it instantly. But what makes these special weapons so crucial is that they all have new utility powers in combat. Grenades can be used to stagger enemies, and upgraded ice grenades can be used to freeze them solid. Your chainsaw can be used to cut demons in half in order to collect ammunition. And your flamethrower can most obviously set demons on fire. but if you kill them while they're still on fire, they'll explode in a shower of armor pickups. And with all these new features combined, you have a tremendous amount of flexibility and mobility during combat. Now, what are the positives and negatives of Doom Eternal? Well, the most obvious, of course, is that this is a game of incredibly high production values. The game looks fantastic. All the monsters are great, all the weapons are well detailed, the levels have a great variety, with some of the environments looking like they were ripped right out of an album cover. And speaking of albums, it doesn't hurt that the game's soundtrack is some of the best heavy metal you're going to hear in its entire generation. Now, as good as the presentation is, the combat is even better. Doom Eternal sets a new standard of excellence for the entire series. The action is smooth, the controls are responsive, you've got a great selection of weapons at your disposal, and a great variety of deadly demons, both old and new, to fight against. On top of that, your new movement abilities allow you to be much more reactive during combat, allowing you to get up, behind, or away from enemies as needed. But probably most striking is how the overall rhythm of Doom Eternal's demon killing has been improved. Make no mistake, the previous game had a clever idea, using finishing moves to be able to restore your health in the middle of combat. Doom Eternal takes this same idea and further refines it. The key, of course, is all your new special abilities. While they all have an obvious role in damaging enemies, the way that they fit together and synergize with one another is what's so interesting. Once you begin to recognize their utility and how they fit into the rhythm of the game, you'll begin to see how they each contribute to a brutally efficient combat engine, an engine powered by violence. The updated chainsaw is the best example of this. In the previous game, it was a weapon of last resort, to be used in emergencies to restore your exhausted ammunition. This time around, that is its entire routine purpose. And because it's on a cooldown timer, there's no reason to hold back. In fact, the game expects you to be regularly chainsawing enemies in order to keep your ammo stocked. There are even garbage mobs that will spawn infinitely just so that you can chainsaw them. Now, as good as the combat is, and it's very good, I do still have some hang-ups about other parts of the game. For starters, I'm not crazy about the story of Doom Eternal, which I'll admit is weird to say. It's just that I found it strange in a game where the main theme is kill demons and then kill more demons. There's an awful lot of expository cutscenes. And the tone of these cutscenes shifts wildly too. Sometimes they're played for laughs with a bit of dark humor, and other times they're gravely serious with all the gravitas of an art house drama. There are also a number of instances where we'll get introduced to someone who is apparently super important in the lore and backstory of the Doom universe, and then as soon as the cutscene's done, it's okay, goodbye forever. Like I said before, it's just weird. But a more relevant and somewhat more substantial complaint is that I was very polarized by the game's level design. Now, as mentioned before, the look of the levels is fantastic. I really enjoyed exploring the destroyed cities and twisted hell factories where the game takes place. But at the same time, there were two elements that kept on showing up over and over that just drained my enthusiasm dry. For the first, in order to christen all of your new movement abilities, Doom Eternal has decided to include a number of platforming segments. And let's be frank, first-person platforming is never an ideal scenario. It is never going to be the best way to handle this kind of game mechanic. And in Doom Eternal, a game where the emphasis is on action and combat, these segments are, at best, a tedious diversion, and at worst, infuriatingly inconsistent. Like, I just want to get out of the water here. I just want to get out of the water. I know I need to climb on the wall. Nope, I keep missing the button prompt. Now I'm losing health. I just want to get out of the water. I know what I need to do. It just won't let me do it. Here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. I cleared a bunch of demons out of this area, and now I want to get the power-up that's there on top of this platform. But oh no, it's too high for me to just double jump up to the top. So what can I do? Well, maybe I can go over here and I can use this jump pad to get up there. Yeah, this looks like it should work. I'm definitely getting the height I need, except oh wait. This is not the way that I'm supposed to solve this jumping puzzle. So what they do is put an invisible barrier in so that I can't use the jump pad. How asinine is that? They've put in precision platforming, but made it so that you can only complete it if you do it exactly as the developers intended. Now, granted, you might be someone who doesn't mind first-person platforming, but even if that's the case, there's another element to Doom's level design that I'm sure will bother pretty much everybody. And that's how, occasionally, in order to mix up the level layout, Doom Eternal will sometimes put you in a tiny battle arena with a single boss-level enemy, and these areas are miserable. Because of their size, your strategic options are extremely limited. There's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide, and you have to rely on your limited selection of close-range weaponry. These areas are almost antithetical to the design of the entire rest of the game, because they boil the strategy down to its barest elements, forcing you into one combat loop over and over. In a game like this, being trapped in a tiny battle arena, being forced to use one weapon against a single enemy over and over, that gets real boring real quick. And you might think that I'm exaggerating here, but if you've played Doom Eternal, or if you're going to play Doom Eternal, you can make the comparison yourself. Between the big open courtyards where you can jump around and flank enemies and use all your power weapons to their greatest effect, and the tiny enclosed battle arenas where you have to fight a single enemy with a repeating attack pattern, be honest, which one was more fun? Now, I will admit that my complaints about Doom Eternal are limited in occurrence. The odd story beats, the platforming segments, the miniature battle spaces, they don't show up often, but they show up often enough to be annoying. I can't even count the number of times that I would finish killing a room full of demons and then walk out in the hall, turn a corner, and see a platforming segment, at which point all of the adrenaline that was coursing through my veins would just evaporate out of my body. And it was that gut-wrenching feeling of, oh no, not another one, that colored my experience of the entire game. Still, the overall experience is pretty fun, and I'll definitely remember the intense combat long after I forget those awful jumping puzzles. I would give Doom Eternal 3 out of 4 stars, and my recommendation. It has an inspired evolution of the swift and savage combat system that was developed in the previous game, but I can't say that I wholeheartedly endorse some of the new directions the game goes in. If you're a fan of the Doom series, or if you just like fast-paced first-person shooters in general, then yeah, this is definitely a good choice. Alright, well, thanks for listening. I'll be back soon. Till next time, Slayers.